Not everyone who smiles at you loves you. This is the story of a billionaire, a village, and a servant who saved his master from death. My dear friends, please support me by clicking the subscribe button. Your support means so much to me. Let's grow this family together. Thank you so much. Story begins. In a quiet African village called Greenhill, life used to be hard. There was no hospital, no good roads, and no jobs. Children walked for miles just to go to school. Farmers worked all day under the sun and still went home with empty stomachs. But everything changed the day Richard Thompson returned. Richard was not just any man, he was a billionaire. A man who grew up in Greenhill but left many years ago with only a small bag and big dreams. He worked hard overseas, did different businesses, and soon became one of the richest men in Africa. But unlike many rich people, Richard never forgot where he came from. The day he came back to the village, people ran out of their houses to see him. Old women brought palm wine. Young boys beat drums. Even the village chief wore his full regalia and waited for Richard at the town square. "Welcome home, our golden son," the chief said with a big smile. Richard stepped out of his black SUV wearing a white native outfit and a red cap. His smile was bright. He opened his arms and hugged everyone. He greeted the elders, played with the children, and even knelt to greet the chief. You could feel love in the air. But Richard didn't just come to visit. He came with plans. Big ones. Bulldozers and trucks arrived. They began building a brand new hospital at the center of the village. He didn't stop there. A modern primary and secondary school followed. Then a large factory where people could get real jobs. You don't have to run to the city anymore, Richard told the villagers. Let the city come to Greenhill. Every week something new was happening. Free food supplies were shared to widows. Students received free uniforms and books. Farmers were given tools, seeds, and money to grow better crops. Life changed fast. The villagers called him the man with a golden heart. But even with all the noise, fame, and wealth, Richard remained humble. He still ate roasted corn on the roadside. And he never made any decision without asking his childhood friend and servant, John. Now, John was more than a servant. He was like a brother. When they were children, they shared everything, even food. When Richard left the village, John stayed behind to take care of Richard's sick mother until she died. After Richard made it big, he brought John to live with him in the city. But John wasn't interested in city life. He preferred the simple village ways. So when Richard returned to Greenhill, John was by his side again, quiet, loyal, and always watching. Sir, John would say, you're helping everybody. But remember to help yourself too. Richard would laugh. John, if I have good people around me like you, I have everything. But life is funny. Sometimes, the biggest danger doesn't come from outside but from someone you let too close. Richard called a village meeting. I've done many things here, he said, but I know something is missing. I need a family, a wife, someone to share my joy with. You deserve happiness, sir. One elder shouted. Women started whispering and smiling. Some mothers even pushed their daughters forward. Richard laughed and promised to take his time. Love must be real, he said. No fake love around me. But someone had already heard the news. Someone who didn't come with love but with a plan. Her name was Vanessa. She first came into Greenhill like the wind. Quiet, beautiful, mysterious. Said I was just visiting her aunt. But the way she walked, the way she dressed, the way she spoke, it was clear she was not ordinary. She wore red clothes that hugged her body and heels that clicked like clock hands. Her voice was soft like butter. Her smile could melt iron. Richard saw her one afternoon at the new school site. She had come to donate books, she said. But her eyes were only on Richard. And Richard, he was gone the moment she smiled at him. John noticed it first. Sir, who is that lady in red? He asked. Just someone trying to help. Richard replied with a shrug. John wasn't convinced. Her eyes are sharp. Her tongue is sweet. Be careful. But Richard laughed it off. John, not every woman is a snake. Maybe she's the one for me. Vanessa became a regular visitor. She brought flowers, cooked delicious meals, and always knew the right thing to say. Richard was falling fast and falling hard. But John watched. He listened. He observed. To celebrate the new school and hospital built by Richard Thompson, the villagers planned a grand festival. They called it the Festival of Gratitude. Drums were beaten day and night. Colorful rappers danced in the wind. Young men climbed palm trees. Old women cooked enough jollof rice to feed an army. The entire village square was decorated with palm leaves, bright cloths, and fresh flowers. Everyone wore their best clothes, and all eyes were shining with happiness. At the center of the celebration sat Richard, smiling, proud, and surrounded by love. Beside him was John, quiet as usual, observing everything. "Sir," said John, leaning closer, "this is what true wealth looks like." Richard nodded. "Yes, John, my heart is full. Maybe this is what I was really working for all these years." Little did he know that Darkness was wearing a red dress and high heels and walking straight into his life. Just before the main dance began, the music suddenly stopped. Every head turned. Every mouth went quiet. Even the drummers paused without knowing why. There she was, Vanessa, wearing a bright red dress that hugged her waist and flowed like water. Her heels clicked gently on the dusty ground. Her skin glowed like the moonlight. Her lips curved into a soft smile as she walked into the square like a queen returning to her throne. "Who is she?" one woman whispered. "Is she from the city?" Another asked. "She looks like a goddess," a young man said. But Richard didn't say a word. He just stared. And then he smiled. Vanessa walked straight to him. "I heard about the celebration," she said. "I thought it would be nice to attend." "You're most welcome," Richard replied, trying to sound calm. But John, who had been smiling all day, suddenly had a serious look on his face. He leaned close to Richard again. "Sir, who invited her?" "She's just showing support," Richard replied, brushing it off. John frowned. "That woman didn't come for the party. She came for you." As the celebration continued, Vanessa sat beside Richard, laughed at every joke, clapped at every performance, danced a little, but not too much, just enough to stay mysterious. Before long, people started whispering, "Maybe that's his wife-to-be. She's beautiful. She fits him. Let's just hope she's not like the last one who came to take his money." But Vanessa was smart. Played the perfect role. Gave money to the dancers. Praised the village. Even took time to greet all the elders with respect. "She's not bad at all," some of them began to say. Only John remained silent. His eyes never left her. He watched the way she smiled at everyone but never truly looked them in the eyes. He noticed how she talked sweetly but always made sure Richard was watching. He even saw how she didn't eat the food served at the event but carried her own bottled water and snacks in her bag. "She's not here for fun," John said to himself. "Here for something bigger." Richard invited Vanessa to tour the village with him. They walked through the newly built school and health center. Vanessa praised everything. "You've done a lot, Richard. You must have a very kind heart." Richard laughed. "I just believe people should be helped if you have the power to help them." "That's rare," she said, placing her hand gently on his arm. "You're different from the rest." Richard blushed. John followed quietly behind them, pretending to check the lights. He didn't trust Vanessa. Something about her smile seemed too calculated. Too perfect. Later, in the car on the way back to the mansion, John spoke again. "Sir, can I speak freely?" "Always, John. I don't trust that woman." Richard sighed. "Not again, John. You always worry too much." "Sir, I've served you for over 15 years. I don't just talk without reason." "I understand," Richard said. "But give her a chance. Don't judge her yet." John wanted to argue more, but he kept quiet. He respected Richard too much. But deep inside, a fire was already burning in his belly. He knew something was wrong. He just did not have proof yet. As Richard sat in his study thinking about the festival, he smiled to himself. Maybe Vanessa is truly different. She understands me. She listens. Not like the others. He didn't notice that someone was already in the mansion. Vanessa. She had come in quietly after dinner, saying she forgot her handbag. But instead of leaving after picking it up, she walked into the kitchen, checked the fridge, and looked through the wine shelf. She opened one of Richard's medicine containers. "Soon," she whispered. "Very soon." Unluckily for her, John had gone to fetch Richard's tablet, and caught a quick glimpse of Vanessa's shadow in the hallway. He said nothing. He just watched. And waited. It didn't take long before Richard and Vanessa became the talk of Greenhill. Everywhere you turned, people were gossiping. "She's the one, oh. The billionaire has found his queen. Maybe wedding bells will soon ring." Richard couldn't hide it. He was in love. He took Vanessa on long walks through the mango grove. They had dinner under the stars beside the river. He brought her into his mansion and gave her the biggest guest room next to his. "I feel like I've known you forever," he told her one evening. Vanessa smiled sweetly. That's because we were meant to be. To Richard, Vanessa was everything: kind, classy, intelligent. But to John, she was a storm in high heels. Richard told John, "I'm thinking of proposing to her." John nearly dropped the tray he was holding. "Sir, are you sure?" "Yes," Richard said, nodding confidently. "She makes me feel young again. She listens. She's patient. She understands me." "Sir," John said carefully, "with all due respect, a good woman doesn't need to be perfect. This one is too smooth, too polished." "You're just being overprotective," Richard said, brushing it off. "Give her a chance." John forced a smile, but deep inside, his spirit was troubled. He had seen too many things. Strange things. After Vanessa started visiting more often, the atmosphere in the mansion changed. Some of the staff members, those who had served Richard for years, began to complain. "Doesn't greet anyone," said Mary, the cook. "Walks into places like she owns them," said Paul, the gardener. "She watches us like a hawk," said Grace, the cleaner. Vanessa made a list of staff members she said were disrespectful and gave it to Richard. "I just want to help you clean things up," she said sweetly. "Some of these people are too relaxed around you." To everyone's shock, Richard approved the list. 5 loyal workers were fired. Only John remained untouched, because Richard trusted him like family. But even John felt the heat. Vanessa started changing things inside the house. She changed the curtains from soft cotton to heavy velvet. She replaced the family photos with her own pictures in fancy frames. She even put a camera in the sitting room, saying it was for safety. But John noticed something strange. Vanessa never touched Richard's food unless she made it herself. She stopped him from eating local food like pounded yam and agouti. "Too heavy for your stomach," she said. Instead, she gave him herbal drinks, boiled vegetables, and strange soup she made herself. Richard felt healthier, but slowly, he began to look weak. His skin turned pale. He slept more. He missed meetings. His voice lost its power. "Just stress," Vanessa would say with a laugh. "He's working too hard." But John knew better. John tiptoed to the kitchen and found Vanessa blending a dark, thick liquid in a small bottle. She was whispering to herself. John quickly hid behind the wall and watched. When she finished, poured it into Richard's favorite soup. Richard didn't get out of bed. His hands were shaking. He said his chest felt tight. He didn't even want to talk. Vanessa smiled. "I won't take care of him. Just let him rest." But John had seen enough. John went into Richard's room while Vanessa was out shopping. "Sir," he said gently, "we need to talk." Richard opened his eyes slowly. He looked pale and tired. "What is it, John? You've not been well for weeks. Something is wrong." "It's just stress." "No sir, it's not stress. It's her." Richard turned his face away. "Sir," John continued, "Elle saw her pouring something into your food. I don't know what it is, but it's not right." Richard did not reply. John sat beside the bed. "You trusted me since we were boys. Please, just let me help you. Let me find out the truth." After a long pause, Richard nodded. "Okay. Find out." That was all John needed to hear. John watched Vanessa like a hawk. He saw her take containers out of her bag. He noticed how she avoided eating anything from the house. He even found a hidden bottle in her room with no label but a bitter smell. When Vanessa went to visit her aunt in the next town, John entered her room with a duplicate key. He opened her drawer and found a small brown diary. He opened it. His hands shook as he read. "He believes everything I say. Soon, he'll be mine completely. Just 2 more weeks. He will be too weak to argue. Then we change the will. John is watching me. He must go. After I marry him, we control it all. I've waited too long for this." John closed the diary and stared at the wall. "This is not just fake love," he whispered. "This is murder." He sat in his room beside the kitchen, staring at the ceiling. "So she planned it all," he whispered to himself. "She came to kill him and take everything." He knew he had to be smart. One wrong move, and she could destroy both of them. The mansion felt colder, not just because of the weather, but because Vanessa had fully taken control. Walked into rooms like owned the house. The staff now answered to her directly. They called her Madam, even though she wasn't married to Richard yet. She replaced the entire dining set with imported glass. She fired Mary, the old cook, saying she didn't like how she looked at her. She even changed the locks on some of the rooms and gave John a new schedule that kept him away from Richard most of the day. "She's cutting me off," John realized. Richard, on the other hand, was getting worse. He was now too weak to attend village meetings. He couldn't walk far without resting. His memory started slipping. He forgot names. He slept during the day and was restless at night. And Vanessa, oh, he just needs rest, she would say with a charming smile. He's under pressure. But behind closed doors, John saw how she whispered into his ears. How she rubbed strange oil on his neck. How she gave him black herbal drinks with a bitter smell. The mansion had become a prison. And Richard was the dying king inside. While Vanessa was out for a salon appointment, John rushed to Richard's room. He locked the door behind him. Sir, we don't have much time, John said in a low voice. Richard turned, his eyes tired and red. I found her diary, sir. She plans to kill you and take over everything. Richard closed his eyes, breathing heavily. I suspected something. We need to get you out of here, John said. Let's go to the city hospital. No, Richard said. If we run, she'll come after us. We need proof. We need to catch her. John paused. What do you want me to do? Richard looked at him. Let her serve me the food. One last time. But this time, we will switch it. That night, Vanessa returned early. She walked into Richard's room holding a covered bowl. Dinner, darling, she said, smiling. I made your favorite vegetable pepper soup. John watched from the hallway. Vanessa stepped inside, gave Richard the bowl, and kissed him on the forehead. Eat everything. You will feel stronger by morning. Richard smiled. Thank you. When she left the room, John entered immediately. Without saying a word, he took the bowl and poured it into another plate. Then he took a similar bowl that he had prepared earlier with fresh soup, no poison, and switched it. They covered it and left the original one in the fridge. If this works, we'll have what we need, John whispered. That night, Richard ate the safe soup. He didn't get sick. In fact, he slept better than he had in weeks. But in the morning, something strange happened. Vanessa fell ill. She woke up vomiting, sweating, and holding her stomach. She screamed for help. I think I ate something bad, she cried. Richard remained in bed, watching. John rushed in with a straight face. Let me call the doctor. No, Vanessa said quickly. No hospital. But John had already called one. And he didn't just call any doctor, he called Dr. Peter, Richard's personal doctor from the city, someone Vanessa didn't know. When the doctor arrived and ran some tests, the result was shocking. There's poison in your system, madam, he said. Vanessa's eyes widened. Poison? That's impossible. Can we check the food you gave Mr. Richard last night? The doctor asked calmly. John brought out the original bowl from the fridge. The doctor tested it. Poison confirmed. Now Vanessa panicked. But, I did not. Madam, John interrupted, you said you ate the same food. Why would only yours have poison? Vanessa froze. Then she made a mistake. She ran. John and two of the staff members quickly locked the gates. The police were already on their way, called secretly by John. When they arrived, Vanessa was shaking. They searched her room and found her diary, hidden poisons, and several fake identity cards. As she was led away in handcuffs, she screamed at Richard. You think you've won? I was this close. But Richard, sitting in his wheelchair, replied. Evil can pretend for a while, but truth always comes out. Vanessa was gone, but the damage she caused remained. Journalists, curious onlookers, lawyers, and even village elders from Greenhill filled the seats. Cameras flashed. Microphones were everywhere. This was not just any case, this was the trial of Vanessa Raymond, the woman who tried to kill Africa's most generous billionaire. She entered the courtroom in handcuffs, wearing a plain brown prison gown. Her once glamorous red lipstick was gone. Her hair was unkempt. The proud sparkle in her eyes vanished. She looked around but refused to meet Richard's eyes. He sat quietly in the front row, strong now, dressed in a simple blue suit. Beside him sat John, calm and collected, his presence like a silent warning to any future betrayer. The judge entered. The courtroom rose. Be seated, the judge said. This court is now in session. The prosecution was ready. They presented the poison test results, the recovered diary, the fake documents found in Vanessa's room, and testimonies from the mansion staff. The diary was the hardest to ignore. The judge read out a few lines in open court. Soon he'll be too weak to question me. Once I get the money, I vanish. No strings. If John continues watching me, I will get rid of him too. The entire courtroom gasped. The defense lawyer tried to claim mental stress, but the evidence was too clear. Vanessa was not stressed, was strategic. Cold. Calculating. Even her own auntie came forward to testify. She told me everything, the old woman said, crying. She said was going to marry him and take all his wealth. I warned her, but she didn't listen. Then came Richard's turn to speak. He stood slowly, looked around, and said, I forgave her the moment I realized she couldn't destroy who I truly am. I am not just my money. I am a man who cares, who gives, and who believes in people. But this time, I believed the wrong person. He turned to Vanessa. You didn't just try to poison me, you tried to poison love, trust, and the kindness I've shared with others. But you failed. Then he looked at John. This man, he said, stood between me and the grave. I owe him my life. The courtroom clapped. Even the judge nodded. When the time came for judgment, the court was silent. The judge looked straight at Vanessa. This court finds you guilty of attempted murder, fraud, and criminal conspiracy. You are hereby sentenced to 35 years in prison. Gasps. Cries. Cameras clicked non-stop. Vanessa fell to the ground, weeping and begging. Please. Forgive me. I was desperate. But it was too late. 2 officers lifted her and led her out. Her screams faded down the hallway like a bad memory finally being erased. Justice had been serving. Back in Greenhill, the celebration began not for revenge, but for survival, for victory, and for truth. The villagers gathered at the square again. But this time, Richard was not just their helper, he was their hero. A man who came back from death. A man who taught them that even in the face of betrayal, you can still stand strong. The chief stood in front of the crowd and said, this is not just a victory for Richard. It is a victory for every man and woman who has ever been deceived but refused to be destroyed. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Richard stepped forward with John beside him. He took the microphone and said, I would like to make an announcement. The crowd went quiet. From today, John will no longer be my servant. He will be my business partner, co-founder, and director of all community development projects in this village. The crowd erupted in applause. John looked shocked. Sir. But Richard wasn't done. John became a respected leader, often invited to speak to youth across Africa. And that, my dear viewers, is the powerful story of a billionaire who gave everything to help others, but nearly lost it all because of a woman with a dangerous heart. If not for one loyal servant. If not for one man who watched quietly and stood boldly. Richard Thompson would have become just another sad headline. But God used loyalty to bring justice. And in the end, the village gained more than just wealth, they gained a legacy. Let this story remind you. Trust is earned. Love must be tested. And the people who stand by you in silence are often the ones who save your life. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart, taught you a lesson, or simply entertained you, please don't go without doing these 3 things. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss another powerful story. Share it with your friends and family, someone out there needs this message. On this channel, we bring you stories that make you think, feel, laugh, and sometimes cry, but always leave you with hope. And this is where stories come alive. See you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay wise, and always stay loyal. Thank you so much. I love you all. Bye.